Hello everyone and welcome back to my true crime channel. Today we are going to be doing something slightly different. We're doing an updates video. So there are some updates from some cases that I covered and I decided to put them all into one video. Now before we get into the case updates for Claire Miller, I'm just going to go through and cover two other cases that had some updates on them really quick. There have been some minor updates on the Millete case along with the Orrin and Orson West case. And of course if you haven't watched the full video on these cases, I definitely recommend you go and you watch those videos first because it's probably not going to make much sense. You might be a little confused watching this video if you haven't heard about these cases before. So I definitely recommend checking them out. I'll have them linked down below or they're just on my channel if you go check. So we're gonna start off with the Millete case. She's a mother that went missing in Chula Vista, California, and she still has not been found. Now there's been a huge update in this case. Neighbors reported hearing loud bangs coming from the Millete home the night that Maya went missing. And not just loud noises, but gunshots. A neighbor has submitted this surveillance footage from their house to police. They don't want to show it though because it shows kind of where their house is and it's kind of a safety concern for them. But in the surveillance footage, there are 6 loud bangs heard. This gunfire was captured around 10 p.m. the night that Maya went missing. This is detrimental to the case. Like, it is crazy. Maya's family also told Inside Edition that Maya told them that if she went missing, it was her husband, Larry. That's another really huge red flag that I've heard case after case happen. Family knows something's up. The person mentions that a certain person is going to be the one that hurt them if they go missing, and then they go missing or are murdered. Fit 2 and 2 together. It makes so much sense considering all of this evidence that's coming out. And this is huge and it's terrifying. My heart goes out for Maya and her children because Maya seemed like such an amazing, lovely, caring person. And it is just terrible that something has happened to her, and it's seeming to be that something very terrible has happened to her. I haven't believed from the beginning that she just up and left. But it just seems like all of our initial suspicions are coming to light. Now all of this is of course alleged because there is no charges or arrests been made, but Larry is still not cooperating with the police, which is still sketchy. I guess her sister and brother-in-law also appeared on the Dr. Phil show talking about Maya's disappearance, and Larry was also invited to appear on the Dr. Phil show, but he declined. Surprise. But on the Dr. Phil show, it was also discussed that there is surveillance footage of Larry backing the SUV from their home into the garage and then pulling back out of the garage. And that gives me chills because we've seen that again, time and time again. All the same patterns, and it's never a good outcome in the end. There's also this new weird information that apparently when her brother went to go check on Maya, that apparently there was a hole on the door that had been plastered over, and it like was visibly plastered over by the doorknob. And when the brother asked Larry what happened, Larry said that Maya had punched the door. And then about 3 days later when a walkthrough was conducted in the home, I'm thinking this was after Maya went missing, I'm not too sure, but the plaster on the door was still there. So it wasn't just one person saying it, like it was there. But Larry was saying it was Maya's fault and that she punched the hole in the door. I don't know. It's all very strange. It's very interesting though that they went on the Dr. Phil show. Okay, the Orrin and Orson West case. So Orrin and Orson are 2 little boys that went missing in California City near Bakersfield, California, and they still haven't been found. Everyone is very, very suspicious of their adoptive parents. Now, there's been a few small updates on this case. There's also a lot of drama in the YouTube true crime community. Besides the mass amount of drama where people were saying that people were being taken in for questioning on the case and whatnot, I'm still very confused if that was true or not. I'm leaning towards, I'm pretty sure it wasn't. I don't know at this point. Let me know down below if you know the answer to that. I did find some other updates that might interest you guys. Apparently since then, someone threw a rock through the front window of the home. Someone also screwed a large sign into the front porch of the home that says, "Where are the boys?" Police also say that the Wests are back in Bakersfield, which I cannot imagine that being a good decision for them. If you remember, they like disappeared. People said they flew to Florida. There was all this speculation about where they went to because they kind of just up and disappeared. But apparently they're back in Bakersfield, and I doubt that they have been welcomed back with open arms. Their extended family actually also released 3 statements. One being that there is a $30,000 reward for any information leading to the boys. Several businesses and individuals also put up reward money, and all of those various rewards have now equaled to about $125,000. The second one went ahead and asked the community to stop attacking their family. There's 2 little boys missing. Of course your family's gonna get attacked. Everyone suspects it's you. And then the icing on the cake, Trezelle's mother, grandmother of the adopted boys, ended up putting out her own statement. I've seen a YouTuber cover this statement when it was put out by the grandmother. Can't remember exactly who it was. I'll figure out who it is and I'll put them down below so you can watch it. But It seems the consensus from everyone in that video was that the grandmother was making this whole statement very like, whoa me, I've gone through so much, and not about the boys, which is what it should have been, and that the statement should have been put out like immediately, not months later when now all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm being attacked. It just is very weird. Okay, and then apparently also on March 1st, the Bakersfield police are now the like lead agency in the investigation. And this is very interesting because the disappearance happened in California City, but the Bakersfield police are the ones now that are investigating. So there has to be some kind of information out there that the police aren't telling everyone. That really makes me go back to what I talked about in the first video, that the boys didn't actually go missing in California City, that they were missing months before. They might have actually gone missing in Bakersfield and not actually California City where they were reported missing. I mean, they're also a way larger agency than I'd assume the California City one is, because the California City is a very small town. They might not have the capability to handle a case of this size, and the Bakersfield police would. So that could also just be the reason, and not at all anything to do with where exactly the boys might have actually gone missing, but it is a very strange thing that happened. But it did seem that 5 days after the Bakersfield police did take over the case, more than 50 officers, including FBI agents, searched in a lot for evidence in southeast Bakersfield. And this was located near the Casa Loma apartments, and I know I mentioned this in the video that I filmed previously, that they searched this lot, so I'm not sure if this is the exact same search, but this is happening after March 1st, and I filmed this video way before that, so I'm assuming this was a brand new search because the FBI is also involved now. And this was the lot across from the apartments where Jacqueline and Trezell lived before they moved to California City. There were also search warrants served at the neighborhood where Trezell's mother lives, aka the grandmother that put up that weird statement. So it's all very strange, and it seems like the FBI and the police are really moving forward on this case and finding more information. I just don't think they're releasing everything. I think they know a lot more. But unfortunately, the boys still have not been found, and I just have a really bad feeling about it. Okay, and now the case that everyone is interested in, that I know I've been getting the most messages about. It's also the video on my channel that has now the most views, which is crazy. So thank you so much for that. Thank you to everyone that's following me. When I seen her TikToks and I decided to make the video, I didn't think that it would get that much recognition, but I'm so glad that it did because it is a very important case. And this is the case of Claire Miller, who was 14 years old, and she ended up murdering her disabled sister while her parents were asleep. And this happened in Pennsylvania, and because of it, her TikToks went viral, and that is why this case is so highly recognized right now. So, new information. I did end up putting out a little post on my channel that said that on the 16th of April, she was going to be having a hearing. And that was the only information that we had at the moment, but that date has come and gone and the hearing did happen. Here is some new information that has come out from that. In an article I seen from Netline, I read that Claire's parents, Mark and Mary Miller, were married in September of 1997. They ended up buying their home for close to $500,000 in Pennsylvania, and this was in 2005. Mark and Mary then set up what is called an irrevocable trust on their home, and that was in Helen Miller's name, so the sister that was murdered, and that was because Heather suffered from cerebral palsy. And from what I understand, they secured this trust so that they could get benefits in order to help care for Helen. I'm also not 100% sure how that ties to this case, but maybe it has something to do with why Claire did this. I guess we'll find out in the future, but that is what we know for now. So, this hearing. Last week on February 16th, Claire appeared via like a Zoom kind of court thing, and her feed was coming from the Muncie, Indiana State Prison, which I found interesting. Apparently she's in Indiana and not Pennsylvania because they didn't have a facility in Pennsylvania to hold her at. Apparently they didn't have a state facility that was accommodating for a juvenile, let alone like a female juvenile. So Claire appeared via video, and apparently she was wearing a blue collared shirt with a maroon jacket, and she had her hair in like pigtails and her bangs were hanging like down, framing her face. Now I'm saying it was like a Zoom court because that's what's been happening, but apparently it was more so like they were like streaming her in from the prison on these screens in the courtroom, and her attorney was in the courtroom, the judge, her parents were even in the courtroom. There might have been other people like in the stands, I'm not quite sure, but this was only a preliminary hearing. This wasn't like an actual like juried court session. Now this was weird, but it was noted that apparently her attorney made a joke about how her hair had gotten long and that how Claire wasn't writing him any letters, and then Claire laughed about it and said that she would write him letters. So I don't know what that was about, but it was noted in the article that I read. I thought it was kind of strange. Not sure why it was mentioned, but it was. Father ended up getting up and approaching the TV screen and basically staring down this image of his daughter. I can't imagine being in his shoes or Mary's shoes. You are staring at your child sitting in a prison because she murdered your other child. But eventually the father went back to the seat and He embraced Mary, and I guess they were emotional, because I mean, I would be. But here's where things get interesting. So the judge starts the court session, and instead of her attorney presenting evidence, he actually instead said that Claire was going to waive her rights to a preliminary hearing and instead move on to the next step. From what I researched, a preliminary hearing is basically for the judge to determine if the person who is going to be accused is going to face a jury. Or like basically if there's enough evidence for them to stand trial. This preliminary hearing doesn't determine if the person is guilty or not. But apparently this was like a huge waste of time, and like this court meeting didn't need to happen because the attorney could have just told the judge this before and none of them needed to meet in court. So it was kind of just a huge waste of time. This hearing actually only ended up lasting a few minutes because of it. Basically after that, the judge just ended up asking Claire a few questions to determine that she indeed wanted to waive her rights for that hearing. After each question, she answered, "Yes, Your Honor," and things kind of just ended after there. The judge set her next court appearance for May 14th, so we've got about a month before we're gonna hear anything else new that's gonna happen then. And that May 14th appearance is going to be her formal arraignment. From what I researched, an arraignment is a formal hearing. It is where the prosecuting attorney reads the formal charges against you, and the judge decides on release conditions. And that's where they determine how much her bail will be, if she has bail at all. And that is also, I think, when she can plead guilty or not guilty. And if she pleads guilty and wants a jury trial, then that is when we'll see like the huge trial happen. Again, let me know if I'm wrong, because I'm not a huge expert in all the like little things that happen in court. Okay, so what does all this mean? The prosecutor of this case, who is Amy Muller, pretty much thinks that Claire's attorney is going to seek for her to be tried as a juvenile, which is what we've all been discussing. It was a huge discussion on the first video I did on this case, whether Claire should be tried as a child or as an adult. And it seems to be pretty split. Once again, let me know your thoughts on that, if you think she should be tried as an adult or a child, because she was 14 when it happened, but the crime she did commit was an adult crime. And that is because in Pennsylvania, all homicide charges start in adult court, but then they can be kind of knocked down in juvenile. What's a little wild to me is that the defendants are also held in adult prisons, and it's no matter the age of the defendant. Now, I have a little bit of an issue with that. I find that a little I just don't feel 100% right with a child being in an adult prison. Like, I can understand being charged as an adult for a serious crime, but I don't know if I can understand a child being in a prison with adults, because yes, they may have committed something that is completely heinous and terrible, but their physical size and like their mentality and everything doesn't really match up to that of an adult. And I think that although yes, they did do something horrible, I think they could greatly be taken advantage of. There could be like RAPE happening. There's like a power dynamic that isn't matched there that I just don't feel right about a child being housed with adults. Let me know down below if you feel the same way about that. I don't know, to me it just doesn't sit right. I don't know 100% if that's how exactly it is, but that's how they have it worded. So on top of that, there is still no motive that has been released to the public. The police may know of a motive, or maybe the attorneys know, but there's nothing released to the public that says any motive. Now, that makes me wonder about the house and why that was mentioned in an article. You know, the public doesn't exactly know, but they were hinting at something. I'm not sure, or it may just mean nothing. If this goes to trial, we may end up finding out why. If it doesn't, and she just pleads guilty and doesn't say any explanation to why it happened, we might never know. But I guess we will just have to wait another month to see what happens in May with the arraignment. But for now, that is all the information that is out on Claire Miller. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this little update video. Let me know if I should do more of these. Of course, once more updates come out on these cases, I will continue to make update videos like this if you guys enjoyed this. I think it's important with cases that are a little newer and fresher that we do like updates, because people are going to be going back and watching these videos, and there's going to be a ton more information that could have came out and no one really knows about it, and that's not talked about. And some of the information might contradict what the older videos I put out said. So that's also, I think, important to state that there's this new information, it contradicts what was said before, this is what we know now. But yeah, so let me know down below if you enjoy this, and I will see you in my next video.